Good evening, Alexandria. Welcome to another enlightening episode of the Let's Talk on Urban Cast. I'm your host tonight, Jack, and today we have a special guest who's deeply committed to the future of our community. Joining us is Tracy Snow, a dedicated public servant and candidate for council at large. Tracy brings a wealth of experience and passion for equity and opportunity in Alexandria. Tracy, it is a pleasure to have you on the show tonight.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. A bit nervous, but I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to share, and I'm ready to learn.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I'm nervous every single time I get on. I'm never unnervous here in Alexandria. So go and I guess we ought to just go ahead and dive deep down into everything. Tracy, tell us a little bit. My first question to you tonight is going to tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from, and your upbringing and all that kind of good stuff.
Who am I?
Who are you?
Who am I? All right. Well, I am the second of four children of an Army man and his career Army wife. I was born in Colorado. My mother is from Leesville. My dad is a Texan. My father was very first stationed at Fort Polk and met my mother. He began his 28-year-long Army career with her. They moved off to the great state of Alaska from Louisiana. And then proceeded to serve the Army, for probably 29 years actually. And so with that, he and my mother built their family of four children, on the road, different locations. All four of us were born in a different location. Mm-hmm. And I went to three different high schools, all the things. And so that was the life I lived growing up. And then I stopped the moving around a bit when my dad was stationed at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. And I stopped long enough to go to nursing school there at the University of Kansas. I joined the Air Force. I spent 12 years in the Air Force as a nurse. And then I came back to Leesville to stay with my parents while I transitioned out of the Air Force, looking for a nursing job in the civilian world outside of the state of Louisiana. But within the amount of time that I was there with my parents, I met the man that I am married to and have been with for the last 25 years, my husband, Jeff. And he and I raised my son. I had an 8-year-old when Jeff and I got married, and I moved back to Louisiana. And I've been here for those 25 years. While here, I did not go back into nursing, but instead just did some part-time jobs here and there for about 10 years, I think. I also went back to school. I went to LSUA, got a degree in communication studies, and then when I graduated from there, Jeff said, I think it's time for you to go to work. So I had an incredible opportunity at the Rapides Foundation, and I was with them for 12 years and then retired about 4.5 years ago.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. Well, Tracy, with such a rich background in military service, can you tell us more about how your experiences have shaped your vision for Alexandria?
Wow. Okay. So that's a good question. So, I mean, my story is one of, a lot of moving and a lot of experiences and a lot of different places. And as a child, I didn't really like that. I wanted to just stay at home in one place and know my grandparents and my family. But then when Jeff and I got married and I had the opportunity to stay in one place and raise a family and know my family, I wasn't really sure I wanted that either. But then as I became accustomed to Alexandria, and the way it is, and who Alexandria is, I just started thinking about all of the experiences that I've had, and looking within Alexandria and within my own desires for things to do, and I guess that's where it began, is just wondering what changes could come, and what things could be brought in or built upon the things that are already here that could shape Alexandria in a way that people are excited to be here.
Okay. And what motivated you to run for council at large? That position. You're going to represent all of Alexandria. Not just one particular unique district, but all 5 of the distinct districts throughout the city. What you think sets you apart from your other the other candidates in the race?
Well, I mean, the other candidates. So right now we're talking about Mr. Jules Green and Mr. Lee Rubin, who is the incumbent and has been for a while now. Just to clarify, that qualifying isn't over until tomorrow afternoon at 4. So I don't know what the field will look like after 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. But currently, it's myself, Mr. Green, and Mr. Rubin, and both have had experiences on the city council. Mr. Rubin, a good bit of experience on the city council. And so, what sets me apart from them? Was that your question? Sorry.
What sets you apart from them that's going to make you the best councilwoman at large,
So, that was your question. Why at large? So let me start there first. So at large, I began thinking about the city council. So since I've been retired from the Rapides Foundation, I have had the opportunity to serve on boards and to participate in civic activities in Alexandria far more than I was as a full-time employee of the Rapides Foundation. And so I've had almost 4.5 years of opportunity on local boards. Such as the museum, the Alexandria Museum of Art. I served on the Good Food Project, which is a part of the Central Louisiana Food Bank. I serve on the Friends of the Rapides Library. I volunteer to construct an adult literacy program for the library. So lots of things. I've had lots of opportunities to be involved in the community. And so I have had lots of opportunity to interact with people from various districts across the city. I live in the Garden District. I used to live in District 5. My mother lives in District 5. And, so I've had interaction in and around all parts of the city. And because my district seat isn't available for 2 more years, and I am primed and ready to go now, I thought, why not go big or go home, right? So, and it's an opportunity to go citywide and to see what the entire city is all about, and to see what kind of an impact can be made citywide, not just within one particular area.
Good.
Okay, and then so going back to what sets me apart from Mr. Green and Mr. Rubin. Now, well, for one thing, I'm a female. I'm probably younger than both of them, and while I'm not young, I have a lot of energy, and I have a lot of time and a lot of dedication to looking around and to participating, and I want to help, right? I'm a server. I'm a caregiver, so to speak, because, I had 12-year history as a nurse, and in giving and doing. And so that's what I think sets me apart. I have energy and time, and I'm ready.
And you're ready.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Go Snow.
Uh, Public safety is a significant concern for many Alexandria residents, especially with the crime rates being as high as they are. How do
Mhm.
you plan to address these issues and support, the understaffed police department?
So let me just start by saying that I know the questions that you're going to throw at me are pretty intense, and there are, you're looking perhaps for specific answers.
No,
Some of the listeners, perhaps some of the listeners are looking for specific answers. A lot of what we're going to talk about, I think, not I think, a lot of what we're going to talk about are problems, are issues that this city has been dealing with for a long time, and things don't happen, things don't change overnight, and things don't change single-handedly. So having said all that, the obligation of our police department is to provide public safety, and I believe that with what they have, they're doing the best they can. Now, I think three of the problems that I see that the police department is facing is perhaps non-competitive wages.
Mhm.
I don't know what their work conditions look like, but perhaps they are facing poor work conditions. What is their work environment like? Is it a hostile work environment? Is it a safe place for them to be and to express themselves and their concerns? They're underfunded. Why are they underfunded? So those are three concerns that I have with regard to the police force, and therefore those are major reasons why I see that that plays into the high crime rate, right? As well as just conditions within the city. There's lots of improvements that could be made across the city, and I'm sure we'll get into some of that. But crime rates are, there are a lot of reasons for high crime rates, and so.
Well, my observation, I just want to be 100% clear. I think personally that, the police department is doing, given the shortage in resources themselves, they're doing a decent job of actually helping us, you know, dealing what need to be dealt with at the time that when they need to react. They are definitely handling those particular issues. But you coming from a military background, I have a military background, and one of the things, from one of the observations that I consistently get is that police are they're fatigued. The
Right.
morale is, the lack of morale is just kind of like off the door. And it's amazing, given under those working conditions, that they are still able to do what they are currently doing. So, a lot of folk, have that as a question. What are we going to do to give those guys some relief?
Okay, excuse me. I had a distraction there. So you're right. I'm amazed at how well that they are doing the things that they're doing, given the situation that they're under. Now, there's, I think the police force could be more proactive as opposed to reactive. However, given the situation that they're understaffed, the work environment, all of those things, I don't see how it can't be more, it can't not be reactive, right? And so I think that's what we're seeing is a lot of reaction as opposed to proaction, because they don't have the time nor the resources to be more proactive in the neighborhoods, to be out and about. But given the neighborhoods some of the neighborhoods within the city that they have to work in, the conditions there are poor. The lighting is bad, the sidewalks are bad, the neighborhoods are in disrepair. So I think efforts to improve some of that makes people more proud of where they live, and then are more willing to protect their environment. I mean, there's, like I said, there's a lot of reasons for crime, and we can, not tonight, please.
Right.
But, things like healthcare, things like education, things like living wages, lots of things play into that. And when people live in poverty and they live in neighborhoods that they aren't proud to live in, then they have nothing else to do, and crime, and they pay with high crime rates,
Right. I mean, let's call it a spade a spade. Looking at economic disparities and job creation in the community, and the lack of an inventory of livable wage jobs are major issues in the city of Alexandria. What strategies do you have in mind to stimulate economic growth and create more job opportunities for residents?
So there you go again, Jack. That's one of those really hard questions that take a lot of thought, a lot of time, a lot of study, a lot of understanding. And while I have thoughts, and while I have taken time and put in some study, I don't really think that I am in a position to answer that specifically in that regard. Now, I will say that I've looked at the unemployment rate of Alexandria, and it's around 2%, which, if you look at the national level, that's great. Now, there are lots of reasons that unemployment rate could be as low as it is. There are people who work for cash and they aren't reported as an employee. There are people that don't apply for unemployment, so we aren't counting those people. There's lots of different reasons, and then also that number doesn't necessarily account for the minority unemployment, right? So it's just a number. We don't know who within that 2% has a job, doesn't have a job. So there's lots of things, but I think the city has access to plenty of resources that could assist with economic disparity. There's a 521-page disparity report. Right. Okay, 521 pages.
Absolutely.
And I don't know it word for word or page by page, but I'm looking at it, and there, like I said, there are resources within the city that can help address that. And so one of the things, that is on my platform, that you've read on my website, that you see and that about who I am, is that I am about open communication. So having conversations within the council, energized and hopeful, and encouraging productive conversations about things like disparities, about high crime, and what are the things that we've done? What are the numbers? What's the data showing us, and what are the things that have been tried or not tried? That so this is again not a one person show here. There are 7 members of the council, and I would like the council to find energy, to find hope, to find passion for itself, for one, and then that in turn then provides energy and hope and passion for Alexandria. And that's where my hope for more open communication within the council comes in. You can't talk too much, right?
No, you can't. No, I don't think you can. But talking, and those are some of the questions that are coming in the comments right now. But we're going to dive deep down into transparency and governance. But I have one follow-up question. How do you plan to support the small businesses and entrepreneurs within Alexandria? Um, you know, just speak to it. And I'm not asking for an exact plan today. We have the next 3 months for you to fine tune that. What I'm hoping, but it is refreshing. I will say this, Trayce, it is refreshing to see that you are in tune to the issues. But as you journey through this little path, the next 3 months, you're going to learn a whole lot, and that kind of thing. But right now, what's your thoughts about supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs within the community?
Well, so
and you were on the Gator board, so I know you have some thoughts.
Right. And again, I mean, it comes back to the resources that we have in this community. There's an economic development office within the city. There's Louisiana Central. There's GATA. There is all kinds of things. And I think if we could get all of those people to talk, again, open communication, if we could get everybody to talk and see about that, some of those agencies are working hard to bring big companies in and big jobs or lots of jobs and things like that. But okay, so small business, what do we do to encourage people to open small businesses, and how do we help them stay in business? Localism, shop local, that's a big deal across the country and becoming a bigger deal. And if we could just encourage more of that within Alexandria. I mean, I don't know if you're looking at specific types of small businesses or entrepreneurs, but I think a diversity of the types of businesses are opened. I think people are interested in restaurants, places to go eat that aren't necessarily a big box place. It's so we've, local people doing local things, not just big box, I don't want to call anybody out, and this isn't necessarily calling anybody out, but just examples, Texas Roadhouse, Chili's, all of those big box things that are coming in. If we could encourage and somehow maybe guide small business people towards, educate them, guide them. There are things like, and I hesitate to say this because I don't know that much about it, but there's things like micro lending that help small business people get the loans for the funding that they need to open their businesses, and then hopefully thrive. So, so I don't have a specific plan, but I have hope.
You have lots of thoughts on it, and in that equity part, one of the things that we have made an observation on is just the sheer number of policies that are quote unquote on our books, as it relate to starting a business, especially within southeast Alexandria. You have codes that quote unquote you have to pretty much gut facilities and different things of that nature, and when you see those type of things being used to literally shut off a part of our town, as opposed to using those tools to encourage things, put the equity back into it, and different things of that nature. we have policies that are getting in the way that would almost be an economic boost if we just get them off the book, and different things of that nature. Because when you go, you have inventory within Alexandria that is not at the latest code, but in most other cities throughout Louisiana, those pieces of property, they're grandfathered in, they're every rule that you can think of, that when they can find an exception to the rule to make sure that that inventory is put back into commerce and different things of that nature, it other communities that really depend on tax dollars, they find a way in saying, hey, I'm gonna get this approved and get it moved on. Here in the city of Alexandria, what I've heard a lot of is that we have policies on the board that just makes it almost impossible to start a small business. And so I think you're probably going to hear that as you traverse the city itself. I want to dive a little deeper into transparency. Trayce, you talk about transparency in local government is crucial for maintaining public trust. What measures would you implement to ensure a more open and transparent governance of of our executive and our legislative body of the city of Alexandria?
Right. So, I mean, you're absolutely right. Transparency it's crucial, right? It's crucial for promoting good government and ensuring accountability across government and then building the trust with our community. And I think that's part of what's happening here in Alexandria is with policies like stringent small business policies and things like that are not encouraging to people to begin things, to start things, to be there. It's when people pay taxes, they feel like they are owed a lot, and so there are pieces and parts of the Home Rule Charter, there are pieces and parts of our constitutional government, our state government, that address transparency, and I know a lot of that is changing across the nation right now. So I think that stuff needs to be watched carefully to see how it might then trickle down and affect what's happening in Alexandria. But even just beginning at the city council meetings, the agendas come out. People have the opportunity to receive the agenda in their email inbox a week ahead of time. They also have the opportunity to call the city council office and ask for more information, not just come to the city council meetings and ask the questions or make their comments, but they can find out more ahead of time, a whole week before the meeting. And I don't think people understand that. So that's one way to let people know what are their rights in terms of public information. What are they allowed to know? So there's the information, FOI,
That's freedom of information.
Yes.
I'm with you.
I've had to think too much for the last 29 minutes. And but public records, there are policies and procedures for requesting public records, and I think the public wants to know what those policies are. What are they allowed to ask for? And so it's a matter of education. And I think so, as I traverse the city and I talk to people and listen and hear the things that are a concern for them, and I know, because I've seen it and I've heard it, why can't we find out this or that, and getting information from people about the things that they want to hear, and what is the best way to get the education out to them. How are they getting their news about Alexandria? Are they hearing it from their friend, or are they getting it themselves directly? Is it coming to them third party, fourth party? How do they know these things? Are they that I think that's one way to start, is where are people getting their news about the city of Alexandria, and how transparent is their news source, and how transparent and neutral, a news outlet should be neutral. It should not be on the side of one party or another. And so I think we need to focus on that.
It's exactly true. And when it comes down to that transparency of information, I know in the last 6 months, we've seen a pullback on the fact sheets that go along with the agenda items within the council. And, I know we have asked on multiple occasions about, when did this policy change? They didn't require a freedom of information request. It just required an email or a phone call to the clerks within the city's council office to get copies of the supporting documents that go along with the agenda. About 6 meetings ago, they put a stop to it. I don't know even to this day if the budget has been released. It may be out there on their website, but during the budgeting study process, the only way you could technically review the budget was to go down to the city council chamber office and review it manually within the hours of 8 and 4:30. And today we're in 2024, and you go right down the street over to the Rapides Parish School Board, and all of their stuff is online, their agenda, their supporting documents, and different things of that nature. Something has to be done. I mean, because we are regressing and going backwards, as it relates to information coming from the city. So I know, I see a ton of the questions that are hitting us out there right now are talking about just this very issue about, information not flowing out.
Right. Well, I mean, okay. So I'm coming in fairly naive, and I told you this before,
Right.
my learning curve is pretty steep. So I have a lot to understand in terms of what's in the Home Rule Charter. What are the policies around transparency, around small business startups, around all of the things that we've been talking about. And as I said earlier on, it's my intention to learn those things, and find out from the public as I make my way through the city. I'm about to go on a citywide tour just to see exactly what's what within the city, and hopefully talk to people while I'm out there. Not to mention that as I'm campaigning, I'm going to be knocking on doors, and I'll be in neighborhoods that I've never been in before, so I'll be learning a lot of things. And so, like you said earlier on, my answers tonight may be hopefully not vastly different, but they'll be certainly more informed by November 5th, right? So, anyway, all of that to say is I have a lot to learn, and while I'm learning it currently, I will continue to learn it, and I have the time to learn it. I have the passion and the energy to learn it. I have people around me that are helping me learn things, that are suggesting things for me to learn. So, I mean, it's nonstop over here. I'm being bombarded with with love, with support, with encouragement, with, oh, don't forget about this, and
well, that's good.
I'm 2 days into this campaign, and I'm already exhausted.
You'll probably say, "Nah, Jack, I'm not coming back on in the future." But for whatever excuse me, for whatever reason, I think you're doing an excellent job. Just one day after qualifying, so go figure. One of the biggest elephants in the rooms here in the city of Alexandria is the utility crisis, and some folk have seen it, felt the impact of it. The numbers are as high from what we were able to ascertain from the last year. Some last summer, some over 8,000 residents' utilities were interrupted at some point in time. Those numbers are, completely crazy. And it has been a pressing issue for many residents in the city. causing uncertainty, hardships.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do you propose that we tackle this crisis once and for all, and begin to provide the residents some relief? And that relief can be just knowing, hey, I got an accurate bill. It's billed at a cyclic kind of thing. It could be knowing that when I have made a payment, it is a real time payment. It's not a batch process kind of payment.
Mm-hmm.
I make a payment to my bill. What is my balance due immediately?
Mm-hmm.
These are some of the things that we have become accustomed to in 2024, and literally we have systems in place that are pre 1980. As it relate to you know, processing. I mean, it makes me feel like when my first computer science programming class, and just as an initiation kind of thing, Southern still had a key punch machine, and when we programmed on the IBM punch cards, and it was archaic, and that's what this utility system that we have, not to even start thinking about restore and all of that kind of stuff. I'm just talking about the archaicness in it, and seemingly nothing is being done, and it's just I guess I could go on and on, but what do you propose? How do you propose we tackle this elephant, this whale?
Well, so again, it's looking at the current policies. It's looking at the budget. Are there policy changes that can be made to assist with utility bill payment, to change policies, whatever they are currently, to not cut off people in extreme weather, extreme heat, extreme cold. So I know that's not exactly what you asked me, but how do we update the infrastructure of bill payment here? It's looking at the budget. It's looking at what is the cost of that. Now, personally, my utility bill is on auto payment, and I put in my credit card information, and I get an email every month that says this is how much that your bill is going to be, and we're going to take it off of your credit card on this date, and it happens fairly regularly. And I look at it, I get the email and I look at it, and I open up my account. My son, he had his on auto pay there for a little while, and for whatever reason, his wasn't being, his would be paid late. Now, mine was with credit card. His was with a bank card or a
debit card or something.
An ATM, debit card. And so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, if it was, so looking at that, now there's a lot of people in this community that I'm sure don't have credit cards. They don't have access to internet. They need assistance. I mean, they have to mail their bills. They have to come downtown and pay their bills, and they need, I think they need receipts and
They need an accurate invoice, and they're not.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and and I think if they're calling in, the phone needs to be answered within 2 rings, 3 rings at the most, and or they need a call back, and they need to be told this is what is due. This is how much you can pay to get yourself to this much. This is what happens if you don't pay this much by this amount of time. But people need to be. There needs to be customer service, right? So whether it's customer service via the phone, whether it's customer service if I go to the utility office, if people have questions, their questions need to be answered. And particularly people who require, like I said, assistance, the elderly, the handicapped, people with large single parents with children, obviously if you're a single parent, you have children, duh, but I think you know what I'm talking about. So it goes back to what is the policy, and transparency and communication. What do people need to be told, and how can they be assisted to pay their bills or not pay their bills? If they can't right now, what happens next?
You would think, and just looking when I did have access to the city budget, and looking at where the sources of money was coming from, most people will tell you a significant amount of the money that the city uses to operate come from the profits from selling utilities. Or if
Right.
you want to really be technical about it, the earnings after the expenses are paid, and that kind of thing. And so you would think that, with the city, with such a dependency on this thing, called a utility system, we would have adequate security around it. We would be given, outstanding customer service. We would never, just talk to people any kind of way, and we would do everything and anything that we could do to make sure that their answers are answered in a timely fashion.
Right. And this is not just at the utility office, and it's not just city employees. This happens, universally. When I call or when I go to the utility office or anywhere else, I walk in to a space and, I'm a white gal. I'm clean, I got messy hair, but whatever, I'm a decent looking person. And so I get treated one way. If I walk into a space needing assistance and my skin color is darker and my clothes are a little shabby because I have had to wear the same clothes for the last couple of years, or, whatever, if I'm more disheveled, if even if I'm not darker skinned, even if I'm still light skinned and I walk in and I'm disheveled looking, people are treated differently based on what they look like. I understand that. I'm guilty of it as well. But I think if we have good customer service policies and everyone is treated equally, there's a pretty good start right there. Answer the questions, be courteous about the questions, provide me the information that I'm asking for, and don't demean me. Help me. That's why I'm here. Now, that doesn't address your question specifically, but we have to start somewhere. And I don't know specifically, Jack, what a lot of the issues are around utility bills, why people can't pay them, what's happening. I don't know what people's issues are outside of, what I've heard thus far, because I haven't been out into the city. And, I've met people across town and in various places, but not like I intend to. And so understanding what the real problem is for the majority of the citizens of Alexandria, I don't know that yet. And so, that's what I intend to find out.
And I think you're going to be in for a big eye opener.
I know. You're absolutely right. And
when you think about here in Southeast Alexandria, on the north side of Alexandria, that people on a fixed income living in a home that's, really not that insulated, and their dollars are just going through the roof. Their incomes, the amount of their utility bill is the amount of the fixed income that they are receiving. And that's that's a reality of what we are facing, and that kind of thing. I'm gonna go ahead and change the. You talked about in your mission statement an emphasis on equity in city services and resources. How do you plan to ensure that all residents, regardless of the district, have a fair access to essential services? And not only a fair access to essential services within the city, but also fair access to things that, I can take a look at in Shreveport, the bid process. Once the bid process, the bids are open and decisions have been made, the transparency is there to actually look at what these other folks bidded and different things of that nature. We've put requests in the past, and we've never received any of the detailed information. And then when you talked about the disparity study, the idea that if you look at the racial breakdown of this city, it's 60%, 40, let's say 60-40, somewhere in that neighborhood. And when you look at the business that the city is doing and you see such a huge disparity among African Americans, and the excuses that we use to say, why this problem is what it is, what can we do about, what are your plans to address some of those issues?
So again, it's all policy and who and budget, and how does the budget break down, and how does a district, how are district finances broken down, and what does that look like? And if there is a resource that is available to the citizens of this town, then this city, then, I mean, like, as you said in my mission statement, then I feel like that particular resource needs to be equally accessible across the city. Now, I may not need that resource, or I may need less of that resource than somebody that lives 3 blocks down the street from me, so things being equal, that's not possible, because not everybody needs the same amount of the same thing, right? So that's why I'm talking about equity more than equality. So, so finding out who needs what, how the budget flushes out, which district gets how much money, and how does that all work? Those are things that I am intending to find out, Jack. I want to know how this works specifically so that it can be equal. If Johnny Downs needs light bulbs and it costs this much money, but
Franco Hunter.
This was a conversation at City Council the other day, and I can't remember the other part.
Franco Hunter. There's one on the opposite.
Thank you, Hunter. Yeah, I was going to say Martin, but Franco Martin. But I don't know. I've heard Royal Martin in this house for 15 years, so that's. Anyway, yes, Franco. They need light bulbs. So why does Johnny Downs get the light bulbs instead of Franco Hunter? There's a cost difference, and there's this much. Johnny Downs needs this much money to fix their light bulbs. Franco Hunter needs this much money to fix their light bulbs. There's differences in how the parks are being used, but why can't they both have light bulbs? Or why can't they have, so again, I don't have a specific answer to your specific question, but that's all part of the work.
The work, right.
That's all part of the work.
Well, you accepting that problem that you have in front of you, and you have these next 3 months to come up with an equation that solves it all.
Right. Well, so I don't know about that. I'll say this: you start off every question with, "How do I ensure too?" Well, I have thoughts and I have ideas that I'm formulating based on the things that I'm learning from the people that I talk to, based on the things that I'm reading and seeing around me. Mm-hmm. Now, to ensure that anything's going to happen when I'm actually in office, I mean, a politician will tell you, I will do this, am I a politician because now I've qualified and I'm campaigning? I don't know. I like to think of myself as a public servant, not necessarily a politician. And so do I want to make promises that this is going to happen in my 4-year term? I would like to, but the fact that I can't ensure any of that, I can't make a promise that I'm not 100% sure that I'm going to be able to keep. And because there are people in place already that are doing the work. They have lots of experience. Well, they'll certainly have more experience than I will, when I'm sworn in at the end of the year. So I'm starting at ground zero, right? Like with that very steep learning curve, like I said earlier, and the people that will be around me, the people that I will be serving with have knowledge. So again, there's that open communication, right? Can I ask questions? Will I get answers, or will I, or what will I get when I'm there and I'm asking questions? How does this work? And what's being done to improve it? Have we thought about this? Or, this is my idea. What's your idea? Can we make the ideas work together? What part of my idea is going to work with what part of your idea? And how do we push it forward to make equity, to bring transparency, to have an open and communicative and passionate city council?
Let me, and I guess the follow-up that I would have for you that, you may not be able to promise because you have those other 6 colleagues that you're going to have to deal with. And so I get that piece. But how do we hold you accountable as that public servant, as that statesman, as opposed to the politician? How do we hold you accountable that you do the things that you said you were going to do, and we watch you, council meeting after council meeting, doing the work of the people that you raised that right hand and said, hey, I'm going to serve the community? How do we hold you accountable to that?
Sure. I mean, so you call me, you ask me questions, you stop me in the street, you send me an email, you say, how come you voted this way? And that brings me to this. I am 1 vote of 7, correct? Mm-hmm. So, when policies are initiated, when there's discussion around changing things or bringing in things or wanting things, I've got 1 vote. My intent is to understand all of those things so I can make an informed vote. Now, my 1 vote may not be enough with however many of the other votes to push that thing forward. So I, but again, you call me, email me, stop me in the street. I will justify my answers for you. I will say, this is what I understood. This is how I understood this issue. And this is why I voted the way I voted. Now, again, my vote may not be enough to, to get us anywhere, but I'm going to keep trying.
Yeah, I think that's what the residents are looking for, is that that candidate, that public servant, that statesperson, actually put forth that effort to. They may not get, as we said, you're 1 of 7. You may not get what you desired out of a particular item on the agenda, but your vote did represent the interests of the people you were serving, as opposed to, let me just go ahead and go along with go along to get along kind of concept.
Right. Well, and we've all been there. We've gone along to get along, right? But people who know me also know that I don't always go along to get along. My husband tells me all the time that I'm kind of combative. So
Tracy, I think I might agree with Jeff on that statement.
Watch out. I often will sit and listen and not have a lot to say, but I do have questions, and I like to ask questions, and I like to get answers, and answers that make sense to me. Now, you may give me an answer and it may not make sense to me. So I'm going to ask you again, I'm going to ask you in a different way maybe, but I would like an answer to my question. And I expect that the public wants answers to questions, the whole accountability thing. But but in the end here, Jack, my biggest concern is this city and the citizens within the city, and how well our city government takes care of them.
Cool.
So, are we done? I'm exhausted.
Yeah. We've been at it.
I'm kidding.
In closing, what do you have to say to the folk out here?
Look, like I just said, my biggest concern is this city. There's poverty, there's wealth, there's a lot of things in between. How do we make this side of town is equally resourced as that side of town? So I welcome your questions. I welcome your concerns. Tell me what you think. If am I allowed to say a cuss word?
You can say it. I'm not. We're not going to bleep you.
I mean, call me on my bullshit. If you think I'm calling bullshit, then call me on it. But explain why, and be respectful. I mean, right. Don't come at me yelling at me, but ask me. Ask me why this. This is what I understand. Why did you? Whatever. So, I look forward to meeting and greeting the citizens of this community. And I look forward to having conversations with everybody. My biggest hope is, like I said in the very beginning, and like I have said on my website, snowforatown.com. My vision, my goal, my hope is to bring hope, to bring energy, to bring passion first to the city council, so that in turn, that is given to the city. Okay. New energy, new hope, new passion. That's what I got for you.
Okay. Well, I tell you what, Tracy, I definitely want to say I thank you so much for sharing your insights and plans with us today. It is clear that you have a deep commitment to making Alexandria a better place for all of its residents. We wish you the best of luck in your campaign. And to our listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in and for your continued support.
Yes, thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Now, did you ask me any questions from the viewers? I don't know, but I can go back and look at them. And
you got some homework out there. But I did some of our questions embedded in, like the transparency, the equity, the bidding process. Those were some of the questions that were out there, so I didn't go get them. But you might want to take a look at them, and
I absolutely will.
Yeah, and that kind of thing, because they're out there. We have a very engaged audience over here.
I've seen that.
They're gonna tell you what they think. You know what I mean?
They're gonna call me on my bullshit, right?
Yeah, they will. They will, without a shadow of a doubt. And truly, I appreciate them. the folk out there that keep us straight. That we're always trying to improve what we do, and we know that this communication piece is one of the most important things that we can do for the community, is to create this platform and allow open dialogue and different things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we want to extend our gratitude also to our business partners out there who are advertising with our Urban Cast. I want to say a special shout out to Math Makes Sense, National Auto, Sattler's Towing, and Long's Products. As always, we like to say over here at Urban Cast, stay safe, stay vigilant. Until next time, this is Jack. We're signing off tonight. And Tracy, you have some homework out there, because there are some if you could just hang tight, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream right there. Somebody said, Tracy, she asked a lot of questions. Before I end, she asked a ton of questions out there. Her name is Felicia Ann Harris. And she said, you got this, Tracy.
Oh, thanks, Felicia. Oh, thank you.
She has some tough questions out there for you as well. So make sure you go back and take a look at them. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream.
All right. Mm-hmm.